Welcome, everybody. I don't know that anybody knows that I'm doing this. Hello, TikTok. I think I've screwed the YouTube folks today. I forgot to schedule, and now I'm live, and nobody knows where it is. Hey, everybody on TikTok, how you guys doing? I'm laughing because I totally forgot to set this up on YouTube today. I am good. And so I didn't at all set this up on YouTube. And those guys are wondering if somebody finally showed up on YouTube. Hold on, I'm here. I forgot to set up the there we go. All right. Hello, YouTubers. I'm sorry. I totally forgot to set it up today. And then I set it up on TikTok. And then I canceled the TikTok on you guys. Sorry, guys. It is what it is. I launched it late. It may be getting upset. Hello, everybody. Hello, New York City. Hello, Friday evening? Thursday evening in America. Hey, guys. Yep, I screwed up today. Welcome. John Arvos is here. We are doing our live today. Probably fewer people on TikTok and Twitch and Facebook because I forgot to set the page up. Sorry, everybody. Well, hello, you TikTokers. At least you guys are here today. John Arvosis. I am going to dig right in since that's the new way we do this. I don't want to lose folks. So I'm going to dig right in. Today, we are going to talk about Ukraine, of course. And also, I want to give you the latest updates on the Trump stuff because that's gotten hotter today. In the future, I may even schedule back-to-back. We'll see. Maybe back-to-back events because that way it sort of separates folks out. So folks who came for Ukraine and don't want to hear the Trump stuff don't have to. In any case, let me jump right in. I'm going to start right now. So the way this works, folks, I do about 20 minutes of news first, and then we do the question and answer. Yesterday, we were trying a new stream idea. It looked pretty good, except it kind of screwed you guys over on TikTok because you couldn't do half the gifts. So I'm back to the old way today, which is why everything looks good and sounds good. But we're going to be testing more ways of doing it. And I know I look tired today. I do not sleep well, but also that is the lighting today. By the way, thank you for all the hat stuff. Anybody who says I look tired, now you know why lighting matters. Because I am tired, but I'm looking really tired because the lighting is horrible today. This is what lighting does to you. Also what age does to you. So folks, let me dive right in. Afterwards, for our chat, our hangout, I'm going to do it on Discord in writing to protect my voice. And I was told by folks who know better than me that we don't want to sort of upset the algorithm gods on TikTok and on YouTube by mixing the news with the hangout. So I've got to kind of break them apart. So in any case, my voice has been a mess. I'm going to finish at 7:15 exactly, and we'll log off, okay? So I've got my hot tea. Let's dig in, guys. So the fallout of that attack that the Ukrainians did on the air base in Crimea has been really fascinating. Let me show you again where it was. So this is the handy-dandy map of Ukraine. Crimea is the peninsula down here. It's the peninsula that the Russians stole in 2014. Okay, the Russians invaded, stole this peninsula, and it used to be kind of a sleepy backwater vacation area of beautiful beaches and stuff. And the Russians turned it into one big military base, although they still, Russians come for vacation. There's 5 big military bases, air bases actually. One of them is right around here. Sevastopol's down here, right north of Sevastopol, right around here in Crimea. Now, that base should be out of range of the Ukrainians, at least from everything we know, except lo and behold, the Ukrainians blew it up. Was it yesterday? I don't even remember now if it was yesterday or the day before. And they blew the bejesus out of it, destroyed a lot of aircraft, and there's been more fallout now from that, good fallout. So the airport's called Saki. The town is Novofedorivka. Yep, that was the name of the town. And let me read you a little bit. From Reuters, pictures released by independent satellite firm Planet Labs shows 3 nearly identical craters where buildings at Russia's Saki Air Base had been struck with apparent precision. The base on the southwest corner of Crimea had suffered extensive fire damage, burnt out husks of at least 8 destroyed warplanes clearly visible. Now, this is interesting because it's a Reuters analysis saying that at least 8 Russian planes were destroyed. That's important because yesterday the Ukrainians said around a dozen, but obviously important to get independent folks looking at it. 8 aircraft is a lot. I mean, they're saying this is like the biggest Russian loss of aircraft in an accident or in an attack since World War II. I mean, this is a big deal. So sip a hot tea to that. I'm doing tea for my throat. The Western military experts said the scale of the damage and the apparent precision of the strike suggested a powerful new capability with potentially important implications. That's what interested me about this article, that it is clear that the Ukrainians, this was very precise. They knew what they were hitting and they hit it. They hit it exactly. They wanted these buildings and they wanted these planes. And it suggests a new capability that, frankly, we didn't know the Ukrainians had. Now, the Ukrainians are saying, because some people were wondering, hey, maybe America gave Ukraine the long-range rockets that it wanted, right? The rockets that can go 200 miles or 300 kilometers. The Ukrainians have been saying that they developed their own, it is their own Ukrainian-made system. So now it's got folks wondering, is this the Neptune missile that they used to blow up the Moskva? Remember that big flagship of the Russians that sank? Is this something else? We don't know. Now, part of the reason we don't know is the Ukrainians have played an amazing job from the beginning with this, from the beginning of the war, where they just drag things out. And they're playing psychological games with the Russians by not telling them, first of all, that they even did the attack, but also not telling them how they did the attack, so that the Russians are sitting there and having to figure out, first of all, I mean, basically Moscow sitting there going, okay, did those jerk Ukrainians even do the attack? Or did one of our idiots, throw up, the Russians were claiming it was a cigarette, that literally maybe one of their idiots did throw a cigarette into a ammunition depot. It wouldn't be what's the word I'm looking for? Wouldn't be the first time that happened with a Russian being just slipshod with their security, right? Their safety. So anyway, that's what the Ukrainians are doing it. They're playing and they're playing and they're playing. And now they got the Russians. And now, by the way, by not telling the Russians, they've got the Russians wondering. First of all, somebody says, Clutch is saying on TikTok, it was HIMARS, which would be the longer range version of HIMARS, the longer range rockets. Well, the point is the Russians are now trying to figure out, son of a bee, did those Americans give the Ukrainians the long range rockets? So they don't know. So now what's going on, if you're Russian and you're in command, you're going, we've got to move our men. We've got to move our equipment. We've got to move our other planes. Because if those planes were in range and they were, anywhere from 125 to 200 miles from the front where the battle's happening, that means other Russian planes could be in trouble too, right? So this is, again, why you don't tell the Russians, because the Russians are basically having to plan for the worst, and it's making them screw up everything for their planning. So yeah, I don't think it's cigarettes either. But good news. So a number of a number of the military folks who I like weighed in and said it was a big deal. Former General Hertling, American general who I've mentioned a lot. He's on CNN a lot, really smart guy. He wrote on Twitter, I'm not an intelligence analyst, but it doesn't look good, when he looked at the pictures. And Michael Hayden, the former head of the CIA and the National Security Agency, wrote back, I am an intelligence analyst. It's very good. Now, the Institute for the Study of War, which is that think tank I've told you guys about before that I really like here in Washington, D.C., they said that Ukrainian officials were framing the Crimea strike as the start of Ukraine's counteroffensive in the south, suggesting that the Ukrainian military expects intense fighting in August and September that could decide the outcome of the next phase of the war. Now, that is consistent with some of the analysis I gave you guys a week ago when I read what some of the other experts were saying. And remember, if you were here, one of the experts said, their impression was within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're now 1 week into that. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, this is a week ago, they felt Ukraine was going to have to start this big counteroffensive because they would probably want to get it done by the end of September, before the winter starts, before the rains start, before the cold starts. And what do you know? The Ukrainians are now giving the same indication that this is the beginning of the counteroffensive, and that we should expect intense fighting in August and September, and that, let's see where it goes, but it's going to be critical what happens now. So this does appear the Ukrainians are trying to give the signal that this is the beginning of the counteroffensive. What was I going to say here? Oh yeah, so let me read this to you. This is interesting. So a little more tea. This was I like to read you from time to time the electronic intercepts that the Ukrainians get. Just to remind folks, as always, I'm looking at TikTok here, and I'm looking at YouTube and some other video over here on my laptop. So this is why you see me looking back and forth. So I apologize, but I'm trying to give you all some equal eye time here. So forgive me for that. So this is the Ukrainian intelligence is constantly intercepting Russian conversations, and they're usually Russian troops talking to their family back home. And they release them publicly. Some other folks usually translate them. This guy, Dmitry, who I really like, who's an Estonian Ukrainian living in, I think, the UK, does a great job translating these things. He translated a Russian soldier talking to a woman. I don't think we know who it was, but it's a woman back home. And basically, she's kind of filling him in on the attack, and he's telling her about how screwed he thinks the Russians are in this. Now, again, this is illustrative of Russian morale and how the Russian troops are feeling. So he says to her, what else in the news? What's going on in the world? She says, ha, 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 ha. The world? She says, F-U-C-K knows. I've not read them recently. No time. She goes, well, Crimea was hit. You heard. So she's saying the rest of the world, I don't know. But she goes, Crimea was hit. You heard, I assume. And he says, yeah, they say it's not accurate information. Well, I don't know. She says, the military report, officially they are saying that some ammunition detonated. Yes, it's an airbase storage, but what truly happened? It detonated with good timing. She's basically saying, hell of a coincidence that it went off just perfectly. She says, it detonated with good timing. They say 9 people were casualties. 1 was killed. So people are slagging Russia off. Embarrassed. Okay, what she's saying here, and again, the translation's a bit off. She's saying now she's getting into how the world is perceiving Russia as a result of all of these ongoing fiascos of the Ukrainians constantly, getting one-upping the Russians with these attacks. So people are slagging Russia off, and you realize from the further context, she means kind of writing Russia off, we would say in English. Embarrassed themselves in front of the whole world, us Russians, waiting for the missile. She goes, I'm waiting for the missile to arrive at Red Square in Moscow. In other words, she's saying, she goes, this is getting so bad, the next missile is going to be landing in Red Square. But I mean, again, the good part is this is what, and the Benny Hill music, exactly, this is what Russian soldiers are talking about with their family back home. I mean, this is how badly they feel like they're doing. And again, hugely important to, the military folks will tell you, morale is hugely important in as part of helping determine if you win or not. And what was I thinking? I think I learned this from a Star Trek once. What was it? Or it was Harry Potter, I forget which, but it was something like it was Star Trek. If you think you're going to die, I found you usually find a way to make it happen. And even though it was Star Trek, I thought it was a really good quote, just that if you really think you're effed, usually you're going to find a way to F yourself because you're just going to screw it up. So listen to this. There's a little bit more. So I'm waiting for the missile to arrive in Red Square in Moscow, and so on. All in all, no more of the same adoration of us that there was before. He goes, yep. She goes, I'm properly bummed out. Again, this is a translation of the Russian. He goes, our boys are talking about this as well, meaning the Russian troops, that the Russians are being owned and we can't even snap back. The woman says, and that even Crimea is seeing attacks. And where are your responses? Where is the air defense? If even Crimea can't be protected, with these air defenses. No one's going to be buying them. They're going to tell us, use them yourself, meaning countries around the world buying Russian weapons. Big deal for Russia. Russia's a big arms merchant around the world. So she's saying they're not going to believe us. They're going to say, you use them. We're not going to touch those weapons. So the guy finally says he's convinced the Americans are behind it all. He says it's a bit different. It's the Americans detecting where these air defenses are located and looking for ways to strike in such a way as to evade the air defenses. Anyway, that's it. But it made me chuckle because, again, it's not the first time I've seen this kind of a discussion. The Russians are worried. They're kind of freaked about this. But, oh well, as we say. So we adjust my light a little bit. There we go. Give me a little more color. Thank you for the gifts. The gifts are working tonight. That's why I'm not doing actually remind folks again, anybody who's new, I'm John Aravosis. We are talking about Ukraine. Later on, we're going to talk about Trump and the latest news on that front. And let me keep going. So there were explosions yesterday. I don't know if we had any more today, but there were somebody mentioned Belarus, but I don't know if you were referring to last night. I saw somebody messaging it on TikTok, but yesterday, so the monitoring project Belarusian Guyan reported, thank you for the flowers, reported several explosions at the Zyabrovka airfield located in Belarusian Gomel Oblast that is bordering Ukraine's Chernihiv Oblast last night. The Belarusian defense minister later said that one of their pieces of equipment caught fire during new engine testing at 11 p.m. Now, okay, maybe. I mean, do you think a lot of Belarusian soldiers were working at 11 o'clock at night? Really? I mean, really? They had to test their new engine at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, maybe, right? Maybe. But considering this attack happened right after the Ukrainians went after the airfield, I mean, let's see. I think it could have just as easily been, Ukrainian special forces who crossed across the border. And as we know, they do a good job with that. Because they've done it repeatedly with Russia across the border, probably a more likely scenario than the coincidence. But, I keep forgetting my tea is hot when it comes out of the thermos. Fire, this, again, unrelated. Now, okay, Moscow is like 450 miles from Ukraine, okay? Nonetheless, I just find the timing of this interesting. Russian state-controlled media TASS reported on August 11th, that would be today, that a fire broke out at a Russian military base in Dolgoprudny, a town in the Moscow Oblast, in other words, in the Moscow region. According to another Russian media, Moscow 24, conscripts and other staff were evacuated from the base. Again, maybe. Now, one of the stories I read said that the BBC, I was just going to say, Roshin is saying that, again, and that's the thing. This has happened a lot of times. And it is clear that Russians themselves, it seems, are sabotaging a lot of Russian facilities. We know, for example, that, God, I don't even know that we've seen any recently, but they were up to, the last time I saw it, like a couple months ago, they were up to 19 Russian recruitment offices that had been firebombed. I mean, firebombed with Molotov cocktails. So, this clearly not happy, but a Russian military base catching fire, again, maybe, but boy, they sure do have a lot of accidents. They do. Right, Roshin, I've got you on the card. Every time I see you, I admit, every time I see Roshin comment, my chest tightens and a fear courses through my body until I find the card where I wrote her name on. She's Irish, and the Irish, they've always got to come up with names that clearly, I think the Irish came up with their names probably to trick the English is my supposition. So in any case, the mayor, where was this? Russia. Oh yeah. So I'd heard about this the other day. And the mayor of Mariupol is saying that the Russians are planning a sham trial for the Azovstal defenders, who you'll all recall are the Ukrainian troops who, remember, 2,000 of them were holed up in the steel plant in Azovstal in Mariupol, Ukrainian town here on the water. Remember, the Russians were trying to take the entire town. They finally got it after the Ukrainian defenders surrendered at the request of President Zelensky, because they didn't have any more weapons. They didn't have any more food. They were going to be killed. And Zelensky said, "You know what? Better to turn yourself in. We'll trade you for others." Well, the Russians have been playing games with these guys because the Russians claim that the people who were in this plant, who come from a subset of the Ukrainian military called the Azov Battalion, named after the sea, which is right there off of the city, and the Ukrainians, the Azov Battalion, basically, they used to be bad guys. Okay, before 2014, they were bad guys. They were far-right extremists. They cozied up to white nationalists. They were happy to cozy up to Nazis and neo-Nazis. I mean, they deserved the criticism they had for that era. But what happened was, after 2014, the Ukrainian government basically told them, "You know what? If you're going to be part of our military, you're going to clean your act up." And they made them get rid of their leadership. They made them get rid of any of the extremists that were in their ranks. And now they are a normal part of the Ukrainian military. They are no longer the extremists they were. Well, the Russians aren't stupid, right? The Russians needed a reason to invade. Now, we know why they invaded. I don't mean that. I mean, they needed an excuse, a public excuse for invading. And the excuse they gave, among others, was they were going to, denazify Ukraine. They were going to, because Ukraine was secretly being run by a Nazi cabal. And actually, Zelensky, who's Jewish and whose his grandparents, his grandfather fought in World War II against the Nazis for the Soviet army. 3 of the grandfather's siblings were killed by the Nazis in the Holocaust. I mean, their family's Jewish, defended the Soviet Union, fought the Nazis, right, and got killed by the Nazis. Well, the Russians were claiming, no, he's really a secret Nazi. So obviously they got made fun of for that. Everybody was like, no, he's Jewish. So what the Russians are now saying is, oh no, the Nazis are these guys, and they won't give up on it because, as we know, Russia's got to lie to get its way. That is how it conducts foreign policy, and it is how it's conducting this war. So the Russians now, there is talk of the Russians putting these prisoners of war from the Azov-style battalion, who were the 2,000 guys, well, at least 1,000 of the 2,000 men and women who were holed up and holding in there, they are reporters are going to put them on trial. Listen to this. So the mayor of Mariupol said on August 11th that the Russians plan to hold a sham trial of Ukrainian prisoners of war at a local Philharmonic in Russian-occupied Mariupol on August 24th. Thank you, Netlin, for those. Ukraine's Independence Day. August 24th, which is Ukraine's Independence Day. Right. Of course they are. Just to kind of do a little thumb in the eye of the Ukrainians. According to Boychenko, who's the mayor of Mariupol, there are over 10,000 Ukrainians in Russian-controlled prisons across Mariupol, and many of them are soldiers. A new poll, in other news, there is a new poll from the Center for Analysis and Sociological Research, commissioned by the International Republican Institute. IRI is a reputable group here in Washington, D.C. They've got Republican in their name, but they're actually pretty nonpartisan. They're a pro-democracy group. They, along with National Democratic Institute, just an American pro-democracy group that helps spread democracy abroad. They're legit. Even though it's got Republican, they're not partisan, left or right. So the new poll came out of Ukrainians. When asked whether they believe that Ukraine will win the war, 98% of Ukrainians said yes. Now, to me, that's kind of amazing. I mean, 98%. I would have thought, even being patriotic, I would have thought 90%, 91%, or even, frankly, 85% if you're getting a little worried. But 98%, that's that. And again, I started by telling you who the International Republican Institute was, to let you know these are credible people who did the poll. Doesn't mean the poll is perfect, right? I mean, polls could be wrong. That's pretty amazing. As for President Zelensky, 91% of Ukrainians approve of how he's doing. That's very good. Again, considering are we 6 months into the war now? We're probably close to 6 months. Thank you, Allie. we're probably 6 months into the war now. That's pretty damn good. 1 month, 2 months, you expect it, but that's still very good. In addition, support for NATO membership has increased. It is at 72% of Ukrainians would support joining NATO if there were a referendum today. That number has increased 13% since May. Interesting. I mean, obviously, they're not joining NATO anytime soon. At least that's the plan. But the fact that it's increasing, it's just interesting to me. Ukraine's energy. It's the state nuclear company, Ukraine's state nuclear company. That's right. Energoatom. Thank you, Netlin, for that. Is saying that the Russians once again shelled the Zaporisia nuclear plant. And what does it say? They shelled the plant 4 times today on August 11th. Now, Zaporisia, the city, is here. Saporisia itself still not held by the Russians. The Russian front is down here, just a little bit, right? Just a little bit south of Saporisia, kind of along the river here, and then it cuts across, it goes over here. The nuclear plant is right here where the river bends, where if you can, maybe it's hard to see, but south of Zaporisia, right here where the river bends, that's where the nuclear plant is. Saporisia, the town, is not occupied by the Russians. The nuclear plant is occupied by the Russians. I'm still confused about this as to why would the Russian, we've heard repeatedly about the Russians basically bombing this plant, and it doesn't quite make sense because they're in charge of the plant. Unless, and I was thinking about this today, unless you think about it and say, the thinking all along has been the Russians want to use this nuclear plant in order to freak NATO out. They are trying to freak out the French, freak out the Germans, freak out the rest of Europe so that literally people go, oh my God, right? This, just what we've been talking about. Like, is there any chance of the nuclear plant exploding, right? That very discussion, they want Europeans to start worrying about it. And it becomes one more thing for the Europeans to, I should say the other Europeans, because Ukraine is in Europe, but you know what I mean? The Western Europeans, it's want the NATO bloc to worry about, so that eventually the Russians hope Europe has had enough. And they finally go, oh my God, now we're talking about nuclear plants exploding. I can't take it anymore. This war has to stop. That's what the Russians are going for. So I would actually not be surprised if the Russians bombed the plant that they are in control of for that very reason, because they want to blame it on the Ukrainians, and even bombing the plant, the uncertainty. Did Russia bomb it? Did Ukraine bomb it? Oh my God, right? It just creates nuclear uncertainty, and that freaks out the Europeans. Now, I will say, to the credit of the Europeans, obviously they've not been falling, they've not been caving yet. Let me see here real quick. Well, Ray, okay. You get the idea, Ray. I was close. Ray is suggesting it was half a fingernail away from where I was pointing on the map was the was. But of course, the Ukrainians aren't firing at it. We know that. Ukraine has, this is good news, actually. Ukraine resumed the transit of Russian oil to Hungary and Slovakia and the Czech Republic, exactly. We had heard the other day that the oil got cut off to these 3 countries. These are 3 countries, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, who cannot afford to lose Russian oil. They were actually exempt from the European Union sanctions. The sanctions include cutting off Russian oil, but it's over a longer period of time. It could be a period of years, right? They were excluded from it entirely because they're so dependent that they were given an exemption. So a couple days ago, Russia claimed Ukraine was cutting off the oil. This whole controversy, over Russia paying for the rights to transmit the oil across, or to transfer the oil across Ukrainian territory through a pipeline, the Druzhba pipeline, but doing it across Ukrainian territory. Anyway, bottom line is, supposedly the conflict is over, the money conflict, and the oil is flowing again, which is good news, because we wouldn't want, again, you don't want another reason for the Europeans to be worrying, right? We don't want those countries to go, okay, this is getting to be too much. All right, what else we got? A couple more news stories, and then we'll do our Q&A. McDonald's is reopening in Ukraine in the coming months. The company said today that it would begin gradually reopening some restaurants in Kyiv and Western Ukraine. I saw some people on Twitter who were very excited about that. They wanted their little egg McMuffin or whatever it was they were talking about. The British government is sending more multiple launch rocket systems to Ukraine, as well as a significant number of precision guided, I'll tell you the exact missile because some of you are military geeks, precision guided M31A1 missiles that can strike targets up to 80 kilometers away. And as we know, 80 kilometers is, 45 miles. I always forget, is 80 kilometers? Hey, Google, how many miles is 80 kilometers? Oh, hey, Google, set your volume at 30%. Hey, Google, how many miles is 80 kilometers?
80 kilometers is 49.71 miles.
49, it's 50 miles. There you go. Okay, you beat me to it. Urker Kidzi beat me to it, as did Blue Piggy. Yeah, so 50 miles. So this is in the same range as the U.S. weapons the missiles that we've been providing, the rockets that we've been providing for the HIMARS. This is a similar system to the HIMARS in essence, and the Brits are making sure they're keeping to that same distance because we've got weapons. They've got weapons, I assume, for the MLRS as well that can go as far as 200 miles or 300 kilometers. But unfortunately, I know whenever I ask my Google things, your Google does stuff, Hey, Google, buy John lots of stuff off of Amazon. All right. What else we got? Okay. Hey, Google, stop. It heard me. I will say this. Google is shockingly good at hearing stuff. I'm whispering so it doesn't hear me. I feel like I've got a spy in my home. Alexa, not as good. Google, on the other hand, hears everything. I mean, it really is good. Like, it's shocking. I will say this because I've got both of them. It hears well, although maybe that's scary. German Chancellor Scholz is saying he's opposing the idea of a European Union-wide entry ban on Russians. He said today, this is Vladimir Putin's war, and that's why I have a hard time with this idea. He said it is punitive. He said punitive measures should be aimed at people who make decisions in Moscow rather than all Russians. On the other hand, the Estonian government announced that it would not allow most Russians with Estonian-issued Schengen visas to enter the country starting August 18th. I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of sympathy on this one because basically, you're talking about a luxury to start with, all right? I mean, it is akin to, then why is McDonald's pulling out? I mean, if that's what the game we're playing here, why is McDonald's pulling out? It's all it is hurting is the Russian people. They're losing their jobs and they're losing their egg McMuffins, right? Why is Sephora leaving? Sephora, right? It's perfume. Most of the sanctions, a lot of the sanctions, we'd say, well, then don't do it at all. I think it's too cute. These people who are playing this game of, and mind you, we're not talking baby formula. We're talking Russians visiting Europe for vacation, which means they're rich Russians. They're not peasants if they're going to Europe on vacation, right? And we're worrying about these guys like, it would be unfair to not let Russians visit the Côte d'Azur during a genocide of their own making. That would be so mean of us, It's almost like genocide if you can't go to Sephora. Right? Come on. The memes write themselves on this thing. The joke writes itself. Like Sephora closed, like genocide, but different. Anyway, it just ticks me off. I just, like I said, I think get your priorities in mind, Mr. Schultz. So, all right, 6:30. As always, okay, we've got an option on how we do this, guys. Okay, we can do the Q&A first on the Russian stuff. I don't want to keep mixing Russia and other news, but the Trump news has been big the last few days, and it was big again today. There was more news on the ongoing controversy. I'd like to talk about it with you. I'm trying to figure out, though, do we start it? Do I get into it now? Should maybe we do, Ukraine for 20 minutes first, and then we do Russia, and that way the folks who want to hear Ukraine can leave? I don't know. I just always kind of wonder what the best way is to do that. In the future, I may even do separate broadcasts, you know? Let's do Ukraine. Yeah, let's do Ukraine first then. Yeah, I like that. I want to see Sasha, John Hill writes. Forget Ukraine and Trump. I want Sasha. Okay, that's it for the Ukraine news. So let's do Ukraine Q&A, and let's talk about Ukraine at around 10:02, since I want to stop for my voice around quarter after. We'll see where we are, and then we can switch over. And that way, people who don't want to be here can leave and blah, 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 blah. Ukraine first. It sounds like America first. Ukraine first. What would be make Ukraine great again? Muga, make Ukraine great again. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm slap happy tonight. All right. So, way to submit questions for you all. Go to my profile. You can hit the question and answer link, and you can submit questions there. I was going to tell folks, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, just do that. You all obviously can submit your questions at the bottom. You can do super chat questions as well. For y'all, I will look right now and see if anybody has put any questions in the magic Q&A box. Oops, that was weird. I had a little message that said live show ended. I was like, what are you talking about? Q&A. Largely agree with idea that pain to most Russians is okay collateral damage, but how would you draw the line to avoid Korematsu problem, Japanese internment? Well, I mean, it's like the old joke, but it's the old joke. Doctor, my arm hurts when I do this. And the doctor says, don't do that. You avoid it by not doing it. We're not throwing Russian citizens in prison camps. That's how you avoid it. We're literally talking about rich Russians being able to go to France to buy champagne and caviar. You know, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not convinced. Okay, first of all, we're not talking about a human rights violation, so I'm not really worried about it. If it gets to, no, but I'm seriously, if it gets to the point that we're literally, for example, okay, the Korematsu problem would be we are no longer selling medicine to Russia. We are no longer selling baby formula to Russia, right? That would be the human rights problem where you're saying you're literally going to risk injuring and maybe even killing people because you don't want to help these people, right? You don't want to help the citizens, right? That would be Muga. I may make the Muga thing, although I worry about the Muga thing because it may be misinterpreted. But I think that's how I would put the difference. That's how I would put the difference. You know, that, and again, I don't think we're close to the line. I don't think we're close to the line by talking about Russian tourism, you know, but I would argue, like I said, I would argue things like McDonald's and other businesses are way more harmful to the Russian public because they're the ones losing jobs, you know, and then you get into a discussion on shouldn't sanctions. I mean, okay, with something like Iraq, good luck under Saddam Hussein. Good luck getting the citizens empowered to have a revolution, right? Russia isn't Saddam Hussein under Iraq. You know, I feel like, as I've talked about before, I feel like the Russian people have a bit of a responsibility. I do. You know, maybe it's time they got off their butt after 300 years and did something about all the repressive governments they've had. I mean, at some point, it's hard for me to believe that there isn't a bit of repression, meaning adoration for repressive governments or autocratic governments in the Russian soul, as far as an affinity for more of an autocracy versus a democracy. I kind of, you know, you got to wonder. I mean, also, I'm not convinced that this is a situation like Belarus where it seems that the people don't like their dictator, Lukashenko, in Belarus. And they tried to get rid of him a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And the Putin intervened and saved Lukashenko's butt. You know, this is not a situation where, you know, most Russians wish they had democracy and wish Vladimir Putin wasn't there and all of Putin's cabal. And they wish they weren't invading other countries. They wish they were just nice people. They wish they were like Canada. You know, where everybody just looked and said, oh, right? We're Americans. When we get embarrassed about our government, we go, we're Canadian. Like, right? They wish, that's just not the case. That's the thing. I just don't, and this was the argument I was getting into with some of the journalists online yesterday on this very topic. I was like, I don't buy that wealthy Russians are innocent. I don't buy that wealthy Russians don't have influence. And I don't buy that regular Russians aren't terribly innocent either. And again, innocent can mean a lot of things. I'm not saying, for example, Americans too, when Donald Trump won the election. Well, the Russians helped, but Donald Trump won the election. Half the country supported the man. I mean, had somebody put economic sanctions on America as a result, the country supported the man. It wasn't like we didn't support him. I wouldn't say cut off people's baby formula, but, any case. Raymond May says 2 years ago, a survey in Russia said 58% wanted a strong man. I'm surprised it's so low, Ray. Right? Yeah, there you go, Alec. Oh, my back is being bad the last few days. I think somebody saw me stretching the other day. They're like, "How's your back doing?" Alec is saying Russia is a democracy where Putin gets elected dictator every few years. Exactly. Well, Jason, that's an interesting point. Jason raises the point and says, shouldn't we be inviting young, educated, tax-paying Russians to leave and making it easier? Maybe. I mean, reportedly, 500,000 Russians. Oh, God, I'm trying to remember. 500,000 Russians left before the war, but I thought it was. I've got a really good chair, by the way. You know what? Anyway, we'll talk about it later. I need to move my good chair because I'm sitting here all the time. I've got an excellent chair. I bought it at a yard sale. One of those Herman. I was going to say Herman Cain. Herman, the other chair, the nice ones that are like $1,000 new. It wasn't $1,000, but really nice. I've got to move. Thank you for reminding me. I've got to move it over because my back has been killing me. Herman Miller. There you go. It wasn't Herman Cain. But it's the nice, it's a beautiful chair, but still not cheap. But I got it, secondhand was much cheaper. Let me see what else we got here in the questions. Hang on, guys. Did you see that Russian military planes have entered U.S. air defense zones? I wouldn't be surprised. Why don't we shoot them down? Because that would be World War III. I mean, that's why. They're playing a game. It's not a good game. It's a dangerous game because you could have a situation where they get shot down, and that would be bad. I mean, because we could have war then. You also can have a situation, what the Russians like to do, which is really dangerous, is they will buzz our airplanes, meaning they'll get dangerously close to them. There was something, Herman Munster, it's my Herman Munster chair, exactly. There was something a couple of years ago, I want to say, one of the dangerous things the Russians did trying to play with us, and they got in front of one of our planes so that our plane was in the backdraft or backwash or whatever they call it, coming off of the back of a plane, which is really which anybody who watched the first Top Gun knows how dangerous it is. Bingo. Somebody goes Top Gun. Exactly. There was another one, maybe it was the same as it, where they got really close to the wings. I mean, they do this stupid, dangerous stuff to taunt us that is incredibly dangerous. Incredibly. Jet wash. That's why I was thinking backwash. I'm thinking backwash, but that's like when you drink a Coke. Jet wash or the wake. All right. Jet wash. I like backwash. It's kind of got a nicer sound to it. What we got here? New Zealand, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Canada are now training Ukrainian troops in Britain. That's great. That is great. That's neat. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Let me see what else we got here. Q&A. Oh, I didn't know about that. Can you speak on Russia being in Venezuela for war games, plus North Korea, Iran, China, and several others? Oh, doesn't that sound like fun? Ooh, that'd be an exciting dinner party. It's like, God, Mao, the Ayatollah, who was the father? Kim Jong-il, I think was the father, wasn't he? Or was it Kim Jong-il? No, that was the son. Who was the father? The great leader of North Korea. Is it Kim Jong-il? I'm forgetting my Kims. Anybody wants to throw? I know one of you knows the name. It was Il. Or Kim Il-jong. Or was it Kim Jong-il? Kim Il-sung? Ah. Kim Il-sung was the grandfather, I guess now, right? We're getting all these. Un is the son, Il is the dad. Kim Jong-il. But that's not the, oh, see, you guys are arguing with each other. So who's the big leader that founded the country? Okay? Of the Kims. Only because I don't have Google in front of me. Obviously, I'd Google. Big leader, Kim Il-sung. Okay. Everyone's disagreeing. Sung is the founder. Okay. All right. Kim Il-sung. Okay. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. Right. And then the son was Kim Jong-il. And this one, oh my God, now I'm forgetting. Jesus Christ. Up. Okay. What's the news? Type it. Don't join me. Type it in here and I'll see, or you can text me. Either way. Okay. Yeah. No, it's always confusing with them. Rocket Man. We'll call the current one Rocket Man. Good. I didn't know you were going anywhere. You can talk about it afterwards. I didn't know where you're going or anything. The thoughts on the meeting in Copenhagen today? I don't know about a meeting in Copenhagen today. What's going on in Copenhagen? No idea. Do you think the U.S. deliberately wound up Russia to invade? No. Is the Ukrainian government and the U.S. squeaky clean? Well, nobody's squeaky clean. I mean, right? I'm sure. I'm happy to say, oh, that's great. Good for you. Good for you. Obviously no one's squeaky clean, but there's no way we round Russia up. Putin has been, Putin came out and said he wants to be basically Peter the Great, right? Well, oh, okay, one moment. Now she's making me feel guilty. I'm literally getting multiple moans from my dog. Okay, my God, you are the biggest whiner on the planet. Dear Lord. Okay, that one. Sorry, but you had to witness it. It was literally from 3 from my dog in a row, which means the blanket isn't on me and I can't get it on me. You've got to put it on me. That was absolutely hilarious. So sorry, back to this. No, it's obvious that Putin wanted Ukraine. Putin wanted Ukraine. He wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union, but maybe not as the Soviet Union. Although I wouldn't be surprised if he calls it the Soviet Union again, because they love using the flag. They love using the Soviet flag. These guys, they love bringing up their statues of Lenin and all of their reverence for the communist heroes and all of that kind of crap. So no. Putin wants to take his neighbors. He wants the Baltic states. He wants Ukraine. And it's not like he came up with that idea because Ukraine was getting friendlier with the European Union and Putin didn't. I mean, no, this is Putin's ideology. It's who he is. It's what his goal is for the country and everything else. And finally, he started moving troops in last summer, a year ago. It's no. And up until the end, Ukraine kept saying, let's talk. The final proof, up until the very end, Zelensky kept saying, talk to me. I will sit down with you right now and talk, Mr. Putin, your President Putin. And Putin refused. That is the ultimate proof that Zelensky didn't make this happen. Ukraine didn't make it happen. And America didn't make it happen. I will also say, if America wanted this to happen, we would be giving Ukraine the weapons that I want to give them, not the weapons Biden's giving them. If America wanted this to happen, we'd be giving them, fighter jets, American fighter jets from the beginning. We'd be giving them rockets that go 200 miles so they can blow the bejesus out of lots of ammunition all over the country and lots of airports and everything else, right? We wouldn't be doing Biden's way where, okay, we don't want to, we're giving him stuff, but we don't want to give him too much. We don't want to piss off Putin, right? Macron in France, we don't want to humiliate him. That is not what you say when you sucker punch somebody, right? You don't sucker punch somebody. You don't pick a fight with someone and then say, oh gosh, no, okay. You don't pick a fight and say literally, oh no, my goal is I want to fight him. And then when the fight starts, you say, okay, I'm going to put my hand behind my back because I don't want to piss him off. Nothing about that makes sense. Nothing about that makes sense. Sip my tea. Exactly. Thank you. Yes, we were doing a test earlier today of my streaming setup. Still working on it. I was going to say it's not rocket science. It is rocket science. So still working on it. It's going to take a while. But yes, my voice was getting raspier. I'm going to probably take the weekend off from doing the lives just so I can not screw up my voice entirely. Okay, guys, let me look for another question or two, and then we can, well, it's up to you. We don't have to talk about the latest on the Trump search warrant stuff. It was just if you guys wanted to. Sorry, just looking more here. Updates on the nuclear plant. Nothing really other than today we heard that the Russians bombed it 4 more times, which is insane. Let me look and see anything else here. Obviously, you guys can throw questions in there too. Elise is saying Russia is furious with Poland this week for taking down big Soviet monuments to dead Russian soldiers. TVP News, sort of like Deutsche Welle for Poland, was hilarious reporting on it. Oh, interesting. So Poland had monuments to. Oh, okay. So these were communist era monuments in Poland to Soviet soldiers who fought the Germans, except, oops, the Soviet soldiers also had some massacres against the Poles. So I'm guessing the Poles are not in very good spirits to have monuments to Russian soldiers, right? Am I missing anything there? Hang on here. Let me pull this up. So let me read this to you. The Carteen Massacre was a series of mass executions of nearly 22,000 Polish military officers and intelligentsia, prisoners of war, carried out by the Soviet Union in April and May of 1940. Though the killings also occurred in Kalinin, which is, which one? I always forget. Is that Estonia? Kalinin, which is one of the Baltics, and Kharkiv. Oh, and Kharkiv. I didn't know that. And Kharkiv prisons and elsewhere, the massacre is named after the Katyn forest, where some of the mass graves were first discovered by German forces. The massacre was initiated by NKVD chief Lavrenti Beria's proposal to Joseph Stalin to execute all captive members of the Polish officer corps, which was secretly approved by the Soviet Politburo led by Stalin. Of the total killed, almost 8,000 were officers imprisoned during the 1939 Soviet invasion of Poland. See, this is the thing. This is the stuff the Russians want you to forget about. They want you to think that their work in World War II, they were the glorious leaders that saved Europe and they saved the world from the Nazis. They don't want you to know that they actually had a peace treaty with the Nazis that required them, thank you, Louis, that required them to stay out of the war because they were friends. And only when the Nazis abrogated the peace treaty and stabbed them in the back did they enter the war. The second thing is, like you said, they liberated Europe. They captured Europe and they trapped it. They kidnapped Europe and beat it senseless for almost 50 years. They held Europe hostage for 45 years. They turned Europe into communist countries, into communist dictatorships. I talked about this during my live today. Some of them incredibly brutal. I mean, all of them were bad. But like East Germany, brutal police state. Romania, brutal police state that also poor as dirt. What that SOB, I was going to say Milosevic, Ceausescu did and his goofy wife. So, the Russians love to talk about how, we liberated everybody. They were monsters. They were monsters what they did. They were monsters what they did to the Poles and what they did to others. And now, and then what they did, thank you, Flower Lady, and then what they did to Europe, like I said, for the next 45 years, they held Europe hostage. And they've got the nerve to say they liberated anybody. They didn't liberate anybody, Yeah, they beat the Nazis. And by the way, narrator, they beat the Nazis with the weapons we provided them, the weapons and ammunition that America and the West gave them. But, the Russians like to pretend like we weren't even there. Yeah, the U.S. had no role in World War II. Sure. Anyway, no, but it's just, it really, and I will say this, though. It reminds me of American politics, again, of Democrats versus Republicans. Republicans will get a talking point. It could be a lie. It could be the truth, but they will get a talking point and they will repeat it again and again and again and remind you of it. Democrats, they just sort of assume, good people assume that the truth will sell itself. And the truth never sells itself. You've got to sell it. And in this case, we should keep reminding the world of what the Russians did and not let the Russians continue. Thank you, Knausi and Ricky. Not let the Russians continue this BS of selling this lie that they were the great saviors of World War II. Again, yeah, they played a significant role in beating the Nazis, and they had some really bad battles with their friends who they had a treaty with. And when they weren't brutalizing Eastern European countries, they were pretty good against the Nazis at the end. Yes, correct. So no, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But again, especially the Poles, that is funny though, because I would imagine in Poland, I'm surprised they didn't get rid of it earlier. If I were a Pole, I'd be like, there's no way we're actually, this was funny too, because I'm forgetting. Shoot, there was another poll. There was something today in the news, and it wasn't very important, but I was going to mention it because it reminded me of exactly what we're talking about here, about how the Russians are creating countries on their border that they're afraid of having. In other words, countries that are, to quote the Russians, Russophobic. They created this word like homophobic. You're Russophobic. Anytime literally a Russian stubs their toe, they accuse you of being Russophobic. And that's what they're literally creating on their borders. They're taking Ukraine and they're making Ukrainians hate the Russians, and they're making Ukrainians literally give up the Russian language now, which is really interesting, which they hadn't done in ever. And now Ukrainians don't even want to speak Russian, and they're making the Poles get rid of monuments they've had there for generations. I mean, very interesting. Curious how many Polish people are here? That's a good question. Or do we have any Poles online today other than the one weighing in here? Just curious. Any Poles with us on TikTok or on any of my other YouTube or anywhere else here? Or Polish descent, because American Poles are very proud of themselves. Mags. I was going to say Polish Americans. Polish American, German Polish. There we go. Half in Australia. Still good though. I don't know if we got Poles. Well, the thing too is it's a little late in Europe. Poland, is it 7 hours ahead maybe? Here, I'll ask this. What time is it in Poland? It's 1 a.m. in Poland. So that could be a reason why we're not getting too many Poles right now. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. Thank you, Zena. Yeah, so that's probably why. You Chicago Poles. Chicago, where I'm from, is super Polish. Oh my God. Super Polish. See, a lot of people of Polish descent though. Wow. Ton of them on TikTok at least. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Harvey. Everyone's weighing in. All right, guys. So what, like I said, we stick with this, or you want to talk about Trump? We really don't have to talk about Trump. I just sort of threw it in there because it's an important issue. And I know folks around the world concerned, but up to you all. 12 a.m. in Ireland. I know I am not a mutt, but many of my American brethren are. I'm 100% Greek, but many of the Americani, as we call them, are, I don't know what the word is for mutts, mudbloods. Are mudbloods. Well, okay, let's talk about Trump. I've got 15 more minutes. We'll talk about Trump. This way, anybody who's not here to talk Trump can leave, so I'm not like trapping you guys. Normally, well, we'll see. In the future, I may break it out. 3/4 Greek, that's good too. Okay, let's talk about Trump. So, as you guys know, the other day, the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago, Trump's resort, that is his main home. They searched his office. They broke into his safe with a search warrant, of course. That was part of the search that was required. They searched his private quarters as well. And, Trump went nuts. His fans went nuts. Republicans have been, have been scary in terms of what they've been saying on the news. Republican U.S. senators who are very Trumpy, but usually more sane than their House counterparts. Republican United States senators are claiming, multiple of them, that this was a plot. that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, Sorry, Harvey had a super chat. I missed it. Oh, Harvey, I didn't see that. Hang on. It's funny. I was reading Harvey's. I even put up your other comment, Harvey. Sorry. Thing from Harvey, and then we'll talk Trump. I missed Harvey's. Gorbachev. Oh God, Gorbachev, who's 98 years old, practically, just released a statement accusing Putin of destroying his life's work. Yeah, somewhat odd considering in his last public statements he was supporting Putin. Exactly. Could this be his age? Could be. That's really strange. He is destroying Gorbachev's life work. It also means Gorbachev is old. Gorbachev is, I want to say 97. How old is Gorbachev? '91. Okay, he's younger than I thought, but that's still not young. He's younger than I thought, but he could be sick. Well, my mom's 93. Watch it. 92. Really old. Thank you, J. Marie, for that. He could have been sick. How about this? We don't know what his health is. He could have been sick in the hospital. Do you think Vladimir Putin would have written a statement for Gorbachev and said, just send it anyway? He might have. And now Gorbachev is well and going, you son of a bitch. I can't believe you did that. It's possible. It's possible. Well, he may not. You never know what Gorby may not give two Fs either. He's 91, but he is right. Putin is destroying his legacy. That's very interesting, Harvey. Thank you. I had not seen that. I didn't see you mentioning it, but I also hadn't heard it. That is interesting. So the latest stuff today was the U.S. Attorney General, who's the head of the Justice Department, came out, held a press conference to talk about this. Typically, the Justice Department does not talk about ongoing cases, and in this case, he did not either. He simply said, we followed the process. Here's the process. The process is it goes up for politically sensitive search warrants. It goes to my office. I approved it. We then sent it to the magistrate. The judge approved it. It was executed. Trump's lawyer released the fact that Trump had received multiple subpoenas before he got the search, before the FBI came with the search warrant. For some crazy reason, and a subpoena is basically, thank you, Bonnie, a subpoena is a court order to turn over something. So you can subpoena your notes, you can subpoena your records, you can subpoena your voicemail, right? Somebody can subpoena your emails and certain emails, right? So they subpoenaed these documents, these classified documents that they believe Trump still had, and clearly Trump didn't turn them over. Now, again, Trump's lawyer thought, and I don't know why, that somehow this was going to be good for Trump, letting it be known that these subpoenas were out there. And to me, all the subpoenas do is prove that the Justice Department actually didn't jump to a conclusion. They didn't go and search Trump's house without giving him a chance. The subpoena isn't even giving him a chance. Subpoena's a court order. Trump's people, I'm sure, went to court. Either he ignored the subpoena and he should be in jail, or his people went to court to try to squash the subpoena. So justice finally decided we're going for the classified info, and it's important. That was the interesting thing there. Now, in other news, as I said, the Republicans have been putting out this story, actually several Republican senators, that the FBI created this out of nowhere, that the FBI really didn't have a source that said Trump had these documents. The FBI wanted, listen to this, the FBI wanted to frame Trump. So they created a fake reason to search his place. They gave it to, and this is my favorite, an Obama judge, whatever that means, right? Every judge, right? Judges are either appointed or they win in elections. Either way, when they're appointed by Democrats or Republicans. So I always get a kick when Republicans bring up this argument, that's a Democratic judge. Well, every appointed judge is a Democrat or a Republican. I'm doing my Joe Biden whisper and my Joe Biden ASMR, right? But seriously, every appointed judge is either a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't mean anything to say, but they're saying it must have been an Obama judge. And what they're claiming is the Obama judge, because, Obama, African-American, right? Black people, we all know black people, very bad. Black judges, even worse, right? So an Obama judge, but I love this too, an Obama judge. Like all the Republicans are simply supposed to go, oh, an Obama judge, we know what that means, right? So an Obama judge, they were in cahoots with the judge. They were in a conspiracy with the judge, the FBI, and they said, hey, let's, and they even said an Obama donating judge or something. So basically, I don't know, maybe somebody paid the judge or something, but that the judge is part of the conspiracy to go and invade Trump's office. And get this, they all started saying they're convinced the FBI planted evidence, that they slipped evidence into Trump's office so that they could find the evidence and accuse him of a crime based on nothing. Well, what happened today? Somebody shot at an FBI office in Ohio and tried to break in and then got into a shootout with the police. He was carrying an AR-15 assault style weapon. I know all the gun nuts say they're not assault weapons. Whatever they are, they're the kind of weapons you use to kill people in war or to kill small children in schools in Connecticut or Texas, but they're not the kind of things regular people should be having. And you certainly shouldn't have it when you're trying to break into the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So some nut, having heard all of this, tried to break into the FBI, and it sounds like he was going to try to kill somebody, is what it sounds like. So it's bad, folks. I mean, this stuff was already bad. It was always bad in the last few years in this country. The kind of language these guys are doing is the language of violence. The language of violence. It's bad. So, any case, it upsets me. I'm trying to think, actually, Brian Karam, who I like a lot, by the way. Oh, so what happened today? I'm sorry, I didn't even finish. So what happened today? So the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, head of the Department of Justice, holds a press conference, and he announces that the Department of Justice has asked a federal court to permit the Department of Justice to make Trump's search warrant public and some other supporting document, to make the warrant public. And the court said they're going to give Trump's lawyer till either the 25th or the 28th, I forget which, to respond to the request. Now, this was very smart because Donald Trump has the search warrant. In America, when you execute a search warrant, when you do a search based on a search warrant, you've got to give the warrant to the person you're searching. You've literally got to, sorry, my allergies are kicking in. You've got to literally say, we're here to search your premises. Here's the warrant. The person gets to keep a copy, so they've got all the details in the warrant. Well, Trump has had this warrant for 3 days. Trump has not released it. Trump's defenders in Congress have been demanding, among other things, that the Justice Department release the warrant. The Justice Department can't release the warrant it's like against the law for them to do it. Trump has it, but Trump won't release it. So what the FBI did, brilliant. And Bob, be careful because someone's going to think you're being serious. One of the moderators, don't do that. I'm just saying, you guys want to be very careful making jokes that sound, because a moderator who doesn't know you is going to think you're one of the bad guys. So that's the, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So so I was looking at the comments here and of course forgetting. What was I saying, guys? What was I saying? Sorry. I was reading your comments and then I forgot exactly what I was saying about the search warrant. Oh yeah. So here's why it was smart what he did. Here's why it's smart what Merrick Garland did. Merrick Garland is making Trump's people go to court. And either Trump's people have to say, we're fine with the search warrant being public, but they really aren't because Trump would have released it. Or Trump's people have got to, in a court document that's public, they've got to say why they don't want the search warrant released. And considering we were having this nationwide discussion and they're trying to pretend like it's the FBI hiding stuff, it would really look bad for Trump if Trump's people say, we don't want it released. So basically it was calling Trump's people's bluff. is what the FBI was doing today, which was very smart of them. But as I said, this is very dangerous. It's really dangerous. Now, this is interesting. Listen to this. So Brian Karam, who's a reporter, excellent reporter, doesn't have a problem calling out sort of presidents of either party, really. But we've had him on our podcast before. Great guy. Actually, I should get him on. I should get him on with us once because he's great. Very interesting guy. He tweeted today, Republican leaders have been warned by Trump's allies. Oh, thank you, Lynn, for the flying dog. Have been warned by Trump's allies to calm their aggressive attacks on Attorney General Merrick Garland and the FBI because Trump insiders say it is possible that more damaging information about Mr. Trump related to the search will eventually become public. Oh, no, that's interesting. So Republican leaders in Congress have been warned by Trump friends that you might want to tone down your support a little because there may be some bad stuff that's about to fly about what he really did that isn't good, which would make sense as to that being the reason then that Trump wouldn't release the information public, that he wouldn't let the search warrant go public. So that's where we go. We did a Q&A. We've been doing Q&A for the last 40 plus minutes. Yeah. I just was telling you the Trump stuff right now, but we were doing Q&A for a while there. Oops, sorry. Thank you, Bonnie. Yeah, we were doing Q&A for a while there, actually. Ooh, so we got 5 more minutes, guys. I'm going to do the recap at some point, but the recap will only take a minute. So we can talk about a little bit more for a minute or two. Sasha's doing fine. She's roaming around under the bed as usual. She's smart, so Sasha knows to hide. My dog knows to hide. I mean, we talked about Ukraine a lot, but I mean, I've got the recap I was going to do in a second. Nope. So let me do the recap first, and then if there's another minute or two, we'll do that, okay? All right, recap. So thank you for the flying dog, Gaza. Reuters says that Reuters believes that there's a new apparent long-range strike ability that the Ukrainians have because they hit the airbase in Crimea. They say at least eight warplanes were destroyed. The Institute for the Study of War says that the Ukrainians are framing the strike on the airbase in Crimea as the beginning of the southern offensive, and that the fighting is expected to intensify in August and September, and it could decide the outcome of the next phase of the war. Explosions were reported last night at an airbase in Belarus. Still trying to figure out who did it. Could be the Ukrainians. A fire was reported at a Russian military base near Moscow. Russia is, according to the mayor of Mariupol, Russia is planning a sham trial for the Ukrainian prisoners of war in occupied Mariupol. A new poll showed that 98% of Ukrainians believe that they will win the war, and 91% support Zelensky, which is good. The Russians reportedly, according to the Ukrainian state nuclear company, the Russians bombed the Zaporisia nuclear plant 4 times today alone. Ukraine resumed transit of Russian oil to Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, which is also good news. Oops, 2 more pages. McDonald's was reopening in Ukraine in the coming months. Not Russia, but Ukraine. The UK is sending more multiple launch rocket systems to Ukraine. Additional precision-guided missiles as well. German Chancellor Scholz is opposing the idea of not permitting Russians to come to Europe. Oh, thank you, Netlin. I wasn't looking there for the disco ball. Scholz of Germany is opposing the idea of stopping Russians from getting tourist visas to Europe. And then we talked about the Trump stuff at the end there. All the latest on the Trump search warrant. All right, 2 more minutes, and then we're going to call it quits because I'm protecting my voice. So anything else? Actually, you know what? I'll give you the quick little update. We're still doing the Discord, obviously. We're going to be doing that forever. You can go to discord.aravosis.com and you can join us. I will be doing this tomorrow at 6, but I'm going to take the weekend off because my voice is still being bad. And I'm guessing two days off on the weekend, thank you, Lamb Chops, would not hurt. What I will do instead, however, is I will make sure to spend significant time on the Discord. So if you want to join me on the weekend, go visit on the Discord. It's, typey. But please go and check it out if you would. The other thing is, what else is there? As far as the Discord, this is my last little thing and then we'll go, obviously. As far as the Discord, it's free. It is free. There is a pay section. A number of folks, I think, are subscribing for the pay section just to support my work, which I very much appreciate because I'm trying to do this full time. And you can, once you get there, hopefully it's obvious. Syndicate and some of the others can help you figure it out. But if you want to subscribe on Patreon, that's how you can become a paying member. Paying members get more benefits, of course. But thank you, Netlin, for that. Of course, like I said, I wanted to, and great CFI, thank you for the cactus. I wanted to make sure that the majority of it is still free to you guys so you can come and chat. So please check it out. The final point I was going to make in that regard, I mentioned during the thing this morning, 80 of you are doing the live subscriptions on TikTok, which I did not realize. That's amazing. Just so you know, I don't want to get in trouble with TikTok. It's $1 cheaper to become a supporter of mine over on Patreon for the Discord. And I will see a lot more of that money. We don't see much of the money when it comes in via TikTok. A lot more of that money will come if you become a Patreon subscriber. So be aware of that. Just telling you. The other thing is, and I'm saying this for other creators as well, I do love the gifts, but if you actually give a tip to the creator in the tip box, there's literally a tip box. Sorry, this is for the TikTok folks. There's literally a tip box in the profile that most people don't really use it. That little tip thing, 100% of the money goes to the creator versus 50% of gifts and even less of that of subscribes. So just to kind of keep it in mind, not just for me, but for others as well, give them the gifts. But I've told folks, and maybe I'll mention at the beginning, I'm going to start telling folks, I'm going to keep checking the gifts. And if you give a gift during the show, I will click it and look, and I'll say, thank you, so-and-so who just gave a gift. I think it shows me when. I mean, the last one was a month ago, but it shows me when. And I can always do call outs for the gifts as well. But the tips, because as I said, the creators will get 100% of your tip and 50% of the rest of the stuff. Actually, I think it's 50% of the gift. I don't even know. It's probably around 50%. Look, TikTok's got to make money too. I mean, I don't really fault them. It's just, it is a steep rate, but they've got to make money too because it's a business. They've got employees, they've got engineers. I mean, I get that, but all right, guys, it's 17 after. I'm going to call it quits. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for that. I still like the gifts because they're funny. They make me laugh. And like you guys too. So I'm going to sign off tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will do it. I will go and check in a little bit on the Discord right now anyway. So feel free to join us over there. And exactly on the weekend, taking care of the voice, and I can do the Discord and we're still testing out the stream. So we'll probably be doing that too. Okay. Thanks guys. I will see you tomorrow. Okay. I'll set it up now so I don't forget because I'm an idiot sometimes, it seems. All right. Bye, you guys.